somewhere beneath Park Lane in Birchington-on-Sea, sign of a pub that has changed hands dozens of times since Queen Victoria was on the throne. A 9-year-old boy once climbed the stairs to his bed above the taproom, his father's voice still rumbling through the floorboards below. His name was Ashton Pemble. Welcome to Birchington Unplugged. This is the sister channel of Peace Unplugged. Here is where you'll find little-known history and heritage of Birchington-on-Sea and the surrounding areas. Today's story is how a single household above a Birchington pub can still speak to us, and it teaches us about memory, about loss, and the quiet resilience of an ordinary family. By 1890, the Acorn public house on Park Lane had already passed through several pairs of hands. Edward Hogbin kept the pub during the 1860s. Robert Terry managed it through the 1880s. But by 1890, there was a new name above the door. That was of Arthur Henry Pemble. Arthur wasn't simply just a landlord. In a village the size of Birchington as it was, a parish then of well under 1,000 residents, a publican was a fixture. He heard the gossip. He extended the credit. He kept the peace on a Saturday night. And yet through all of that, he raised his family. The 1891 census freezes that household like a photograph. Arthur Henry Pemble, aged 31. His wife Hannah, 39, originally from Westwell, that's further inland in Kent. And their children, Madeline, aged 6, Clarence, aged 3, and in between, aged 9, a boy right there in Birchington, Ashton H. Pemble. Here is the shape of his world. Tap room below, a bedroom above, the salt air of Thanet coming from Minnis Bay, and a family surname, Pemble. That had already been rooted in the parish records for generations beforehand. To understand Ashton, you have to understand how deeply the Pemble name runs through All Saints of Birchington, 12th century church that holds Dante Gabriel Rossetti's grave. Now, the burial registers of All Saints Church tell us a much harder story than the census does. Albert Pemble, buried in 1840, at just 2 months old. Elizabeth Pemble, 16 months, in 1834. Edith Ethel Pemble, only 3.5 weeks, in 1876. And Brown Pemble, 11 weeks. In 1882, Os Pemble, 1.5 years, in 1886, buried on Station Road, same road where Birchington's Victorian shops were just beginning to rise. This is what Victorian mortality actually looked like. Not a statistic in a textbook, but one surname appearing again and again in a single parish register. And that's across 5 decades. By the time Ashton was born in 1882, his family already carried generations of that particular quiet grief. And yet the household above the Acorn in 1891 is full. 4 children, business running, a marriage intact. It's a reminder that resilience in this era wasn't the absence of loss. It was the capacity to keep going, keep pouring pints, and raising children, whilst opening the door every day in spite of the challenge. Ashton Pemble was a true local. His attendance at the Church of England school in Park Lane, where he left aged 14 and joined an apprenticeship as a carpenter. That occurred in 1895. This connection why he, along with Stump Tumber and Bentley Osmuthery, chose Park Lane to open their business in 1912. At the time, Park Lane was largely agricultural. The firm stood as a prominent business opposite the Golders Ironmonger store. And the firm had only been running a short while when the First World War broke out. So the founders of that business, their lives took a dramatic turn.
Marriage.
Wow.
And this is how they travelled from place to place. Sometimes there was food, sometimes there wasn't. Bitterly cold, but they carried on repairing the aircraft. But while they were doing it, the Bolsheviks were fighting the revolution. And people were being killed in the streets.
And he became a Birchington resident.
And he was a Birchington resident. He left Birchington, went to war, and he came home. He went on to France afterwards. But while he was in Russia, he bought his mother a silk shawl. And the 8th of December, his wife Louisa, and we have the shawl he brought home because the family gave us the shawl. That it's full size there. This is it, pure silk.
Beautiful.
Beautiful thing. We keep it obviously packed away.
Yes.
And in the cabinet over here, do you wish to film it?
Yeah.
We have his actual flying corps wings and the picture of him with his wife and their son Herbert taken in Birchington. And we have his medals. His RAF became RAF then.
Of course, yes.
With Royal Flight Corps, exactly, which it was when he started. And this is what our museum's about.
Ashton Pemble was called up around 1914-1915. He used his carpentry skills at Farnborough Airfield, and that was to assemble Sopwiths, Bristols and Avro aircraft. Ashton's World War I service is what truly sets him apart in local history. In April 1917, he was posted to Russia, living in Moscow and Petrograd. He kept a daily diary that recorded the unfolding Russian Revolution and the rise of the Bolsheviks. Unlike political commentators, Ashton wrote from the perspective of a practical tradesman, recording the cold, the meagre food and the chaotic events exactly as he saw them. After the British withdrawal from Russia, Ashton was sent to Vendôme in France. That's where he served in the newly formed Royal Air Force. That was established in 1918. He was then able to witness the celebrations of the then armistice. After the war, Ashton returned to Birchington, and that was to continue his business with his previous partners. Throughout the 1920s and the 1930s, the operative builders and decorators, commonly known by locals as O.B.D. This was a staple business of the local community. They were the go-to contractors for quite a period when Birchington as a village was expanding. And that's particularly around the developments in Minnis Bay. The yard in Park Lane was a central landmark. Memoirs for the 1920s describe the area as a bustling village hub, with the O.B.D yard situated near the village forge and the old Acorn pub. O.B.D were known for traditional craftsmanship, particularly carpentry and decorative work. For those people that live in Birchington in the older properties, it may very well be that O.B.D did some of the original work. Some of the work they did was unique to Victorian and Edwardian tower bungalows and the villas, those that define the architecture of the Birchington coast. There is a much more definitive history held at the Birchington Heritage Trust, detailing how the firm O.B.D shaped the physical village as we walk through it today. Ashton Pemble clearly had a full life, experiences that many did not survive during the war periods. It's worth reflecting that peace is something that is worthy and desirable. Kindness, tolerance and understanding, accepting our differences and standing up for humanity is the key here. Ashton Pemble reminds us that even in the middle of a world war, we can find a centre of gravity in a learned craft in our community. There's something quietly steadying in a story like this. We often think we need a hero, tragedy or a headline to make life worth remembering. But Ashton Pemble's story teaches us something a little gentler. That's that an ordinary family carrying real grief alongside real love, simply getting up, opening the pub doors every morning, that has its own kind of quiet endurance. So today we follow the story of Ashton H. Pemble, born around 1882 above the Acorn Inn on Park Lane, a pub that when it was still open was a favourite haunt of my own. Ashton was the son of a publican, Arthur Henry Pemble, and his wife Hannah. We've walked through the family's history. We've looked at the All Saints burial register. We've seen a copy of his wartime diary, which is held in the Birchington Heritage Trust. This has been Birchington Unplugged. Thank you for watching and listening. Bye for now.